Talk like at full volume.
At full volume, this is probably it at full volume. I'm excited. Welcome to Talking Story. My name is John Minton, and I'm so happy that you've joined me today. Lately, I wanted to spice up my reading life. I was kind of in a rut following my same old favorite authors. So I went online to BookTube and I started poking around. What have I missed? And I have missed a lot. First of all, let's start off with the gorilla in the room here in this genre. And it's like I had not heard of Brandon Sanderson. And apparently, I'm going to call this human from here on out a Storymatic 3000. He is just cranking them out. And not only is he just cranking them out, like one world isn't enough for this dude. He has to create a Cosmere. So whatever kind of story he wants to tell, he's got a world to stick it on. And all of this links together in a 10-book magnum opus that he's working on that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of readers are voting that it's their favorite all-time fantasy series on Reddit. I haven't heard about this at all. I live under a rock. So I started poking around and made myself a comprehensive reading list. And with all the novels, the interlinking short stories between the novels, and pretty much everything and everyone said the same thing. Don't start with Elantris. It's his first published book, but it's not his best. I even saw an interview with the man himself saying when he got the call for his first book to be published, he had the first of Mistborn Era 1 out there, and he fully expected the call was that because he was way more excited about it. So what did I do? I ran out and I bought myself a copy of Elantris. Why? I'm a rule breaker, baby. If I'm going to commit the time to go on this journey with this author, and it's a journey, the page count is only growing and it's substantial. I want to start at the beginning. I want to see what themes are important to him. What things pop up over and over again. I want to see him grow as a writer. I want to see his tools get sharper in the toolbox as the time goes on. So I'm starting with Elantris. We're going to start the first review right now. And my review system, basic 5-star system, I'm going to give from a quarter to a full star for these 5 categories: world building, plot, character, prose, and pace. So let's start off with world building. World building, extremely important in this genre. Every author has to put you in a time and a place and create an overall atmosphere. But in this genre, sometimes you have to go from whole cloth and create languages, flora, fauna, socioeconomic situations, religions, you name it. So what type of world builder is Brandon Sanderson? I am happy to say that all the press is absolutely correct. He is so strong in this area. This book, Elantris, takes place on a planet called Cell within the Cosmere. And Elantris is a city, a beautiful, gleaming, walled city on the planet of Cell. And the beings that live there are godlike magic users. If you get an injury, you would take a pilgrimage to Elantris because using very intricate hand gestures, they could knit your flesh. Why have doors in this city when you can manipulate matter and create an opening in a solid rock wall? And it grows from there. Right outside that is the kingdom of Kai because, of course, neighborhoods and kingdoms are going to sprout up around this city because who wouldn't want to live next door to gods? I mean, think about, property value alone. I'm sure godlike beings are going to follow every covenant of their HOA. They got to be great neighbors, right? Beyond that, there's other kingdoms across the sea. There's entire, as mentioned, socioeconomic situations, religions that are trying to fight for supremacy. This is a fully complete realized world, even right down to a history and technology that no one quite understands from the past times. And I love this about these types of books when they can interject a lost technology. Some of the characters have these floating companions. Think of like a orb. Think basically Siri crossed with a fully realized emotional person with agency. And you can ask them the history of a situation. You can commiserate with them. You can send them on missions to spy for you. So this is not only a fully realized world, it's a fully realized world with a rich history. And I gotta give the man a complete star here. World building, top notch. 1 whole star. So moving on, what do we go to next? Let's look at the characters. This book does operate. Whoa, sorry about that. This book does operate on a 3-character point of view structure. So I'm going to give my star rating based on those 3 main characters. Now, that's not to say there's not a cast of thousands in this book, but looking at the 3 main point of view characters, we're going to start off with Prince Rauden. He wakes up, and where does this magic come from? Where these godlike beings live in Elantris? Well, they're people just like you and me, right? They were blessed with what's called the Shroud, and that imbues them with this type of magic. But things have happened, and the wellspring of this type of magic has dried up. So now when you get that Shroud, it's a curse. You're kind of like the Walking Dead. Your heart doesn't beat. You just live a life of torment. And our main character, Prince Rauden, starts the book off not being blessed with Shroud because times have moved on, but being cursed with Shroud. He's very well liked, an absolute icon in fantasy of a well-loved prince, more well-loved than his father. And he gets this horrible malady. And the beginning of the book starts with him being shuttled off. Do you root for this character? Are you engaged in this character? Absolutely. He is lately betrothed to the 2nd main point of view character, Princess Serene. Now, Princess Serene is a princess of a kingdom from across the sea named Teod, and she is coming here to get married. Now, I have to admit, I've read a little bit ahead. This review is going back a bit for me into the Cosmere. So this kind of character is somewhat important to Mr. Sanderson, I can tell, because it pops up over and over again. A very powerful female character that has left her life that she had full understanding of, and she's a fish out of water, and she's doing it to, protect her world and the new world that she's coming to, and she's in a whole different group of circumstances, and she has to figure this all out, right? So is she a good match with Prince Rauden? Absolutely. He's concerned with making a better world for his citizens as well. He's working with a group of reformers before he gets this horrible malady and shuttled off to Elantris. So they seem to be a really great match, and you absolutely root for these crazy kids to get together. So again, check mark with characters. You're rooting for them. You're rooting for their relationship to get together. They make a good match. A lot of the time, Princess Serene comes into absolute conflict with the 3rd main POV character, and that is Hrathen. Hrathen is a religious figure. Again, now this is something that occurs over and over again in Mr. Sanderson's fiction. Questions of faith, questions of fanaticism of faith, and how far is too far, and what does this journey of faith bring to humanity? So he has been tasked with coming to the city of Kai, the kingdom of Kai, and converting to basically the same religion. It's the same God, but it's just a different sect, basically. And he's been very successful at this with other cities. So successful to the point that Kai and Teod, where Princess Serene is coming from, are the last 2 holdouts that have not converted over. So Hrathen has been successful, but it hadn't always gone, let's say, not bloody. He's had to get his hands dirty, and he's has questions of his own faith about how far is too far. Is this really for the good? He is absolutely committed to convert the city of Kai without bloodshed. Through manipulation by hook or by crook, he does not want to cause a bloody coup and bring the city over in that way. This character I found to be the absolute most realized in that classic character arc. Where he starts out and where he finishes are 2 very different places for his journey. And I really appreciated that journey. And questions of religion are just kind of my bag anyway. I kind of like that. It kind of speaks right to me. I will kind of take a little bit off because Prince Rauden, Princess Serene, and I do think Mr. Sanderson is a bit of a romantic because this factors into a lot of his fiction as well. These 2 crazy kids just need to get together. They start out in the best place morally, wanting to make a better world. Again, a theme that plays out over and over again in Mr. Sanderson's work. Now, are they more powerful? Have they gone through trials and tribulations? Absolutely. But did they really change as people? To me, not necessarily. So on character, overall, I'm gonna say three quarters star. I'm going to take a quarter off because was I engaged? Yes. Was I pulling for him? Yes. Did I ship the romance? Yes. Questions of religion, which is just my personal bag, kept me turning pages. So moving on to plot, I'm going to break the plot down into thirds again because each of our main protagonists kind of have their own plot that intersects. Rowden's plot after he gets shuttled off to Elantris after he gets this horrible malady. Right when he gets in, he comes in with a offering of food as is customary, and he realizes that this truly once great, now dilapidated city is run by bloodthirsty gangs that really are just concerned with feeding. Even though your heart's not beating, you're not technically alive, you still hunger in a horrible way. And he is attacked immediately to get this food, and he has to run. He stubs his toe. That's how he realizes any injury doesn't go away, doesn't heal because your body's not regenerating at all. And you just kind of carry and accumulate injuries until you get to the point, and despair as well, because, what's the point? Until you get to the point where you just kind of lay down and let time wash over you. You're just not even living at all. So a lot of his plot has to deal with getting word to the bigger outside world that, hey, these people are still very sentient, very much alive, need food, need attention, trying to create, again, a theme that plays over and over again in Sanderson's work, a more perfect, free, equitable society. He's trying to bring about the change of these rival gangs running the inside of Elantris to more of a democratic, almost socialist feel. And the other thing that he's extremely concerned with, he makes a friend right away when he starts to run from these gang. When he first gets in there, somebody that's been in there for a while named Galadin, and he says, hang with me for 30 days. And they make this pact, and Galadin does, and he learns the ropes through Galadin. And through Galadin, he's trying to explore this city that once was so wondrous, and he's trying to unlock the secrets of what happened to this wellspring of magic. If Shoud used to be an unbelievable blessing that would help you to ascend to godlike powers and heights, right? Why is it now such a curse? What happened to this wellspring of magic? Again, now this is a theme that I see Sanderson play out over and over again, and he's known for his magic systems. This is what he does so well, is create magic systems, right? And always, at the beginning of the book to at the end of the book, or at the beginning of the trilogy to the end of the trilogy, you're going to understand that magic system so much more by the end than you do at the beginning, even if you start out with full-blown magic users. So at this point, you can't start off with full-blown magic users. It's just a curse now that you've been touched by this. As he's trying to make a more perfect world inside Elantris, Princess Serene, who comes over from Teod and meets the royal family, Prince Rowden's parents, and such, she finds out that, the dad doesn't even show up to the funeral. They just said the man died. They didn't say he was afflicted with this horrible malady. They didn't want to carry that stigma. So they just said he's dead. They had a big state ceremony, buried an empty casket, and the dad didn't really even find time to go. So right away, Princess Serene's ears are pricked at this, right? Like, what's going on? So Princess Serene is... her storyline primarily is bringing about a more perfect, equitable world in the city of Kai. And why is that important to her? Because she is in direct conflict with Hrathen. Hrathen's storyline basically revolves around even people within his own sect in the city of Kai that he comes into and has contact with. They're more fanatic. They have not been on the path Hrathen. They have not seen what Hrathen has seen, or maybe it just doesn't register in the same way with them. They don't care if this gets bloody or not. So Hrathen tries to, through manipulation and guile, to bring about a conversion. And he thinks maybe I can make the people suffering in the city of Elantris next door I can ostracize them and make them the outsider and say, why do so many of them come from Kai? It's not because it's the closest to Elantris. It's because you haven't converted and your people are suffering a judgment. He tries everything he possibly can, and he only has a certain amount of time to do this. The powers that be that he answers to have given him a very small window to pull off this conversion without all-out bloodshed. And if he can't, they're swooping in. These are the last two holdout cities. They're swooping in. They're going to take it. So this adds a ticking clock to the plot. Very much like kind of like Fortinbras and Hamlet. There's enemies galore encroaching. Everything, the story you're seeing play out here, you know is on a ticking clock because the enemies are coming in. And did I just compare Brandon Sanderson to Shakespeare? Yes, I did. Where am I going to end up on my star system for plot here? Yeah, political intrigue, religious conversions. There's plenty going on here. I found it bogged down for me a little bit in story, but always the world building was so strong, and the mysteries of what happened to the magic system, and I did care enough about the characters to see the direct conflict between Princess Serene and Hrathen. Which was going to come out on top there. Would the coup be bloody or bloodless? I did care quite a bit. You know what? I'm going to say overall, it did bog down for me though. I'm going to go half. I'm going to go a half star. And the only reason I'm doing that, and this is probably a cheat, but I've read far enough along into the Cosmere to see how much further he gets and how much better he becomes at narrative and story. So at this point, first book, I'm going to go half. Yep, half star. Okay, I'm going to say pace is where I kind of broke down and why I only gave a half star in story. One of the tools in Mr. Sanderson's box that he uses quite a bit is he loves exposition through dialogue. What are people going to talk about back and forth? Is what they care about, the politics of the day. He will just have two people that care talk and talk and talk and talk. He does not just describe things. It's all through conversation. There is a lot of exposition through conversation. And moving on, I've seen he does use this tool quite a bit. So if you're interested in this, it can be scintillating and it will just make you turn one page after another. Then I'm really not even getting into the last third of the book at all, because it's almost like someone tapped him on the shoulder and said, you need to end this. And the way to end this is with a bang. He's like really like brought about like Marvel Cinematic Universe set pieces. And I mean, the ending is a real, pace is really uneven for me here. I'm going to go a quarter. I'm going to go a quarter star. Does his trick of exposition through dialogue, man, it works so much better down the road for him. In this one, I found it to be clunky. I found it to hinder the whole thing. And it really hamstrung the pace for me, especially in the middle third of the book. And I think down the road, he also learns to start adding some of these big bang set pieces he had in the last third of the book to sprinkle them through the entire narrative experience, which makes such a difference down the road. Which leaves us with prose, or the style of the man. He himself has said he has worked very hard to have a no-nonsense, straight-away prose style. If you know it's a Brandon Sanderson book, it's not because the language is beautiful. It's not because you have to go back and read a couple passages over again because, wow, I have never heard something described that way. But his straight-away, no-nonsense style gets so much better than where it starts here. You can see that it's important to him, and you can see he continues to work at it. Because when you're dealing, hey, I get it. I think when you're dealing with material like this, so high concept, so much going on, so much new material, as in a whole new world and whole new political systems and religions to really get and glom onto, why not make the language as simple as possible? Because we're already asking you to suspend so much disbelief and to come on a journey that's so unusual for you. And it's almost like he knows, I want the hardcore fantasy readers, but I also want everybody else. and I'm going to make it palatable, and I'm going to make it easy for everybody else. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a half a star. He really gets further in his style down the road. I appreciate what he's trying to do here, and I understand why he's trying to do it. I love, personally, and this is my personal review, a balance. I love a story that just sings and goes along and there's no obstruction whatsoever between you and that flow of narrative, but then you're just struck every once in a while by a passage that makes you go, wow, that's profound. Wow, I've not felt that about something I've maybe seen so many times in my life. So half star there. So if we add all this up from our 5 categories, we end up with a total of 3 stars. That's pretty good. For a first book, come on, man. For a first book everyone tells you not to start with, for me, 3 stars is like, that's a good book. I would recommend that book. I would buy the second book in the series. It's a 3-star book. 4-star book, now that might be one of my favorite books that I have up on the shelf. Maybe I spend extra money to have a special edition of it. 5 stars, I mean, that's very, very rarefied air. That's something that we will be talking about long after I've gone to dust. That is it for me. I am going to basically stop here and say, for the people that want to, I'm going to have an after show moment, and I'm going to talk about something completely spoilery. If you have not read this book yet, you probably want to sign off right now. Okay, I just want to say this about the ending. The end mystery of this magic system and where it's gone, these very intricate hand play magic system, it's all about the topography of the world around them. And as the topography changed, these hand symbols have to change as well. And to me, I love Arthurian legends. And to me, that was such an homage or a hearkening back to Parsifal's quest for the Grail, and how the king is one with the land and his people. And at the best, our leaders are so inspirational, and we define ourselves and connect through them, and they're a part of our world and a part of our land, to the point where if the land changes, they must change to their very core. I just thought this was so super cool. It was such an homage for me. Maybe I'm the only one that felt that, I don't know, but I really dug that. And I just really appreciate it and want to throw that out there. If anyone else felt the same way or kind of got the same vibe from that. And if you think that, well, the quest for the Grail and our leaders being inspirational representations of ourselves as a broader society is naive, or its day has come, that's why I love stuff like this. It does speak to our own world. We just saw so much of England turn out to the streets for days and days and days to see somebody that they knew was in that castle, knew that was in that throne room, and knew, for good or bad at times, represented them and who they were as a people. And they all turned out and crowded the streets for days and days. So for those of you that say, well, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of quaint, kind of naive, it happens right here in our world. And it just really struck me. I really loved that about the ending and about the wrap up of the mystery. And I hope you kind of got that too, and I'm not all alone. But if I am, I've been there before, I'll take it. Thanks for showing up.